Because yes, there is money in these bins. Hello, welcome back. Today I have an admission. I have too much stuff. Yeah, I do. If you are new to my channel, welcome. And my name is Julie. I'm a longtime picker, thrifter, buyer, seller of vintage, antiques, uniques, and secondhand and pre-loved items. I'm not a hoarder. I am an eBay seller. I've been selling on eBay for many years, and I had a booth in an antique mall for 17, and I now have 2 storage garages of a lot of stuff. I did learn a new name to call myself recently. I guess I'm an everything seller. I have a lot of everything. I usually spend time in one of my 2 storage garages, handpicking items to show you, to sometimes brag about them, before I get them listed into my eBay store. And today I'm just going to have one focus, and that's going to be fabric. So I hope you stay on board, because I am not going to show you all the fabric that I have, but I am going to show you some of it and explain to you why I have been saving, collecting fabric for way over 20 years. Now, I'll help justify a few things. I have been a DIYer in the past. I also reupholstered furniture. But honestly, I haven't DIY'd anything in at least a year, and I have not reupholstered any pieces of furniture in many years. So this past week, I spent quite a lot of time going through. I have 14 bins. I went through most of them, not all of them, because really I wanted to focus today on fabric and getting this fabric out of my storage up into my eBay store. Because yes, there is money in these bins. So let me start. So I don't talk you through the whole thing. I will be showing you some of my fabric, and I do ask that if you know somebody who is interested in fabric or would like to purchase fabric, please share this video with them. That would help them and me. So I thank you. So fabric. I have, let's see, I have a cheat sheet here. I told you I had 14 bins, and burlap, which is in this bin here, that's already listed in my eBay store. And what those are coffee bean sacks. So that's the heavy duty burlap, and I have sold several of those, but I have many, many more. Those are already listed, like I said. I have table linens, whether they're tablecloths or runners. I have blankets. Some of them are actually crocheted Afghans. I have rugs, and many of those are actually, they can be used as rugs, but they're nice enough. They're beautiful textile that can actually be put up on a wall as wall hangings. Curtains and bed linens. OMG. I have a lot of those. And accent pillows and plush stuff. Now, I do have a few fabrics already listed in my eBay store. 2 of them are new off the bolt. I believe one is a horseshoe pattern that I sell by the yard. I don't have too much of that left. But my big seller that I have stocked year-round from a source here in Maine is my lobsters and crawfish on newspaper. I sell that by the yard, and I have sold, the bolts I get are 15-yard bolts, and I believe in the last 3 months I have sold. I'm working on my 3rd bolt, and I'll probably be making a purchase of another bolt. Whether I sell on eBay, whether I'm here in Maine, which is where I live year round, well, most of the year, but over the last several years, my husband and I have been wintering in Texas, and I make sure I take some of that lobster fabric down in Texas. So let's stop jibber jabbering and let me start talking about the different fabrics that I have. And if any of you are watching and I do not claim to be a fabric expert at all whatsoever, I just have had a passion for fabric, prints, things that I knew or thought I could reuse to do projects, to make curtains, to make placemats. I'm not a big sewer. My sewing skills are pretty basic, but I also did a lot of upholstery. Simple upholstery, not chairs, not any big couches. It was usually ottomans and footstools and seat chairs, things like that. Okay, this is a whole, and I do not know how much yardage I have, but this is an example of some fabric or trim. Well, it's really fabric, and it's got that lovely design. I think I was going to make curtains out of this. I don't know. What would you make, and how much would you need? Because I think I have a lot of that. Now, a lot of my fabrics, well, let me start off here. I do have a few sewing patterns, and I, in the long time ago, used to sell sewing patterns. You know, I don't know what the desire is for them, but I guess there are 5 here. This is a child's, and I don't even know what the date is on this. Do they have dates? I don't know. Here's another Butterick. This is McCall's. Another children's. These look like jackets. I'm sweating here in my garage, so it's hard to be looking at those and not making me sweat more. And then a Simplicity. So I don't know how I'm gonna sell those yet, whether individually or just as a lot, just to kind of get rid of them. A lot of the fabric that I've saved over the years is actually from clothing. I know it is super cheap to either your own clothing or whether you thrift at a thrift store and get clothing that way. When you buy men's shirts or large skirts, it's a lot of fabric, and some of those prints are really nice. I have a few examples here, and as you can see, my little label. But this right here is actually a wrap skirt. And, I think before I cut them, I am going to take another look at them to make sure, that maybe, I don't know, I don't sell very many clothes. That's never been my niche. But before I sell them as fabric, I may take a look to see. All of this is vintage clothing. This in particular is made in Japan. And, it's not a skirt, it's pants. Pants with a drawstring. But the fabric is what I saved it for. That's one example. I think these are also pants. By the way, those were mine. These are mine, were mine. I don't wear them. I haven't worn them in probably decades. Again, it was the fabric that I was saving it for because I just really liked that design. skirt. This is a wrap skirt. And I don't even know if people wear wrap skirts anymore. I think I wore this one many moons ago. The pattern is really nice, and I'm gonna kind of go from bottom to top for you. It is a wonderful print. So, and again, I will actually look to see, it's not actually a wrap skirt, I correct myself. It's got some clasps on the back. But I'm not really so interested in selling clothing. I don't want to get into that. I think there's, from what I've seen, there is a plethora. It's almost like sensory overload of people who are selling vintage clothing, and that seems to be the in thing. But I just think there's just too much out there. The competition is really big. Whereas in fabric, I don't find the competition to be even comparable. So that's where I'm leaning, is to sell things like this as fabric versus clothing. And let me know in the comments if if you agree, or if you think I should be doing, something different, whether I should be selling the clothing as is. I will listen to you because I do love feedback. This is a shirt, a top made in Mexico, but really, I'm saving it for the fabric. I love that paisley type design. Now, the other thing, I had told you already that I have a lot of bed linens and curtains. And, I went through those recently to figure out, okay, do I have complete sets of things, and are they clean? I did get rid of some things that I just thought just weren't going to work for me for one reason or another. And then if I had any just single items, like single flat sheets or fitted, I was going to sell them for the fabric. These are all vintage sheets. In particular, this is Dan River, and the pattern is a lovely rose. I'm not going to open this all up, but enough so that you can see the pattern. And this is I think I had taken the thing off. I think it's queen. No, it's a king. It's a king flat. So that's a lot of fabric. And I just have, I'm going to put that up close, hopefully. I just have the flat sheet. King size. So that's a lot of fabric. Another one, this is probably a queen. And this is Springs. This tag is pretty faded, but if you can see that. And it's, again, the flat sheet. It does have a trim, but the pattern that the majority of the sheet has are leaves. There's dragonfly in there. Did you see it? I saw a dragonfly on this side, so I'm just turning it over to make sure. There's that dragonfly right there. Again, that's a lot of fabric. This one's all white. This is another sheet. Field crest. flat sheet, clean. It's all white, but the reason why I kept it and would sell it would be for that trim, plus all the fabric. But I love that seashell pattern. Now, some other things I told you, those are bed linens, curtains. And again, before I actually go ahead and sell these, the sheets, because they're just singles, I think I'm just going to sell as fabric for sure. But these are curtains, and I'm actually going to show you that, show you that tag. This, it says Gloria Vanderbilt. And it's so lovely. Like a floral print. And I'm not bringing down the whole length of it, but just so you can see a bit up close. I like the colors. And there are two of these curtains. This one is another spring. Made in USA. And the pattern on this, again, is a lovely floral. Oh. You know, when I got myself ready to do this, I made sure I put the labels out first, because when you're dealing with curtains and sheets, it's always a struggle to find that label. Another very pretty print. Some pillowcases that probably look, or they don't even look used. Again, I saved them for the design. And this one in particular has a very faded, can't read. It says 100% cotton, made in Portugal. It's a flannel. And it's the print again. Does have a trim. This is a pillowcase. This is another pillowcase, and this one's Lady Pepper. I didn't show you the other one because it was too faded. And again, just a lovely, nice rose print. And I think I would have better luck selling it as a fabric remnant than a pillowcase. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Now, let's see. I did show you, oh, and then upholstery fabrics. These are different pieces. This is almost like a corduroy. And these I have large quantities of. No, yellow, it seems as though when I get up too close, it kind of dulls the color. Striped. I don't know how to describe that. And after I show you some of these pieces of fabric, I'll tell you a few things of what I learned to be able to put a listing up on eBay for fabric. With good results. I have had in the past very good results with my fabric listings. I just haven't really been aggressive with listing fabric for quite some time. A few more pieces, almost like a black with a white polka dot. This is an example of fabric that I have to really take a look at because there is wear to it, but and there's some aging, but part of it is in perfect condition. And it's what do you call that? Flocked? You know, when you feel the texture atop the fabric. But again, like some of it has stain. I don't know if you can see that stain, but I would sell it as a whole piece and make sure that I describe that well to indicate that not all of it might be able to be used. This is a nice textile. It appears to be almost like a gray brown with some pink in there. I don't know if I put that close enough, if you're seeing the pink. And this is just a upholstery blue, I guess, with a little gray in it. And then there are some fabrics that I had come across that are truly vintage, and yet there are defects or holes or stains. But I think if you've watched any of my other videos, it's real hard for me to throw away linens that just are beautiful, and that with the scalloped edges, the embroidered print floral flower is great. But like I said, see, there's a hole in that, and you know what, see that torn, see that tear? So I'll have to go through those. I have a lot. I have a whole bin that's just, I guess this was a curtain. Yeah. That are old, probably have discoloration, probably have a hole or a tear, but a lot of it is salvageable. And it's the design that catches me. And maybe it'll catch somebody else. And then let's see, these are a lot of my fabric. Now I'm not gonna open up. This is just scrap fabric, and I'll talk about that, meaning just smaller pieces. I do have some larger pieces. This is just emerald green, solid. Solid colors are really hard to sell, but they were really great when I did upholstery or pillows or things like that. This is just a blue. This is a nice stripe, blue and white. And these are larger pieces that I'm showing. Now the ones that I'm showing don't have the salvaged edge, so I don't know what the maker is. And this is just a remnant of a larger piece that I have. Oh my goodness, yeah. I have a lot, don't I? What I just wanted to go over with you is, you know, some tips that I incorporate when I make a listing for eBay, so that you as a buyer, or, you know, are best informed when you're looking smack at the title. And it's important too that you put the correct words in, or the right words in, to be able to capture what people are putting in the search bar up above. first and foremost is the size. What's the width? What's the length? It's, you know, if you're selling it by the yard, BTY is often the abbreviation, or maybe it's written out, or both, by the yard. You'll want to make sure that you put the width. The width, if you have a salvaged end, like if you're dealing with new or off the bolt fabric, it's the end either with the white or the faded sides that are finished by the, yeah, I guess I don't know, I'm not going to use the correct term, by the machine that produced the fabric. That's the width. And then the length would run down the pattern or down the sides of the salvage. So whether you have a listing for by the yard, or if you're selling the whole, like a fabric remnant, there's different sizes of fabric. There are large fabric remnants, there are smaller ones. And then, like I said, a bin and a half full of just fabric that's only appropriate probably for quilting or smaller crafts, because they're smaller remnants. And I have to decide whether or not I'm just going to sell them. I don't know, and I don't think I want to cut them into squares. I think I would sell them, and maybe I would think of selling them as a group by the color, or maybe by a particular theme, like for children's clothing, children's designs, or I think I'm into sorting by color, so I think that's the way I'm going to go on that one. Other things that you put in your description, you know, make sure you're putting the pattern, some kind of a description, like floral, or, you know, just checkered, ferns, leaves, whatever that pattern is, that would be something someone might be searching for. Fabric content. If you know it, great. If you don't, like some of these fabrics, I'm not going to know the exact fabric content. There are some things I've heard, and I've got to look more into about the burn test. For instance, if you burn a piece of fabric and it burns to ash, it's cotton. I can't advise too much on that right now, because I'm not remembering some of those hints that I've already read. I have been looking at a lot of other YouTubers that have a long history of dealing with fabrics to help me learn some things too about fabrics. I have no problems with getting listings in, describing, taking photos. It's getting to know the fabric that I have. And of course, easy peasy, if your piece of fabric has either the maker and other information on that salvage side, those are things that you would definitely want to put in your listing. Like if it's Ralph Lauren, or I'm just giving that as an example because I know that's a hot item. And then in the description, besides what I already talked about, is you're going to want to know or give the buyer the measurements, but also the measurement of the design repeat. A good description. I sometimes like to put it next to solid colors to give with a white background maybe, to give a really clear visual of what the colors are, because, you know, my description of a blue might be different than your description of a blue, and, you know, there's just a lot of variables out there. Certainly the condition, and with some of these linens that I showed you, definitely there are some condition issues. And then of course, vintage or new or not as old. Photos. Now that's what I love to do, is take photos of my stuff. So I'm pretty good in that department, but when it comes to fabric as well as some of my other hard goods, I take lots of photos. I start close up, take more photos as I get away from that fabric, so that you start with a close up And then you also have a far picture that shows the whole design, the whole pattern. And then of course include at least one of those photos should have a ruler in it so that you're seeing or showing what the design or the print on that fabric measurement is, a good gauge. Certainly take a picture if there's any print maker's mark on the fabric. I always also include a picture of the back side of a fabric with the front side atop it so that you're seeing the contrast. A good example I can give you is like this fabric. This is the front and that is the back. And that kind of helps when you can't, especially helps when you can't really truly describe what kind of fabric it is. I know people who are buying fabric can tell just by that kind of a photo. And then I learned recently that some of the top sellers or some online fabric sellers are using this technique where they take fabric, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it right, but they twirl it up, and I'm not going to be able to necessarily show this because I don't have a flat surface to show it to you on, but they photograph it. Yeah, I'm not doing this right. But I think you might get the picture. They twirl it up and kind of pull it up in the center. Excuse me. Of course, it's a flat picture, but the fabric itself is not completely flat on the surface. And to me, that helps me too, you know, to look at maybe the draping, or gives you a different perspective than just looking at flat pictures. So, oh my goodness, I have lots of fabric, lots of linens, lots of bins, and my goal over the next several weeks, I'd already set a big goal for myself. If you've been watching any of my recent videos, is my 90-day eBay challenge, and that is to get double the listings that I have right now, get them up into eBay. I'm also selling 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 items a day, so you know, I might put in 4 items and then sell 2. So those numbers sometimes, it's a hard challenge. I initially set it for 60 days. I've now changed it to 90 days because I have other things going on. I sell big items like furniture on Facebook Marketplace, and it's summer. I have to enjoy a little of the outdoors. So I hope you enjoyed some of my content today. If you did, I hope you're a subscriber. If you aren't, please press that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up. And again, if you know somebody who's looking for fabric, share this video with them. I'm hoping that most, not all of my listings will include free shipping. I did have a recent video on how much more success I'm having recently with the price of postage, whether you're doing United States Postal Service, FedEx, or UPS, that the rates have gone up, and I can build that into the price, but I don't think buyers are as intimidated by that price when it's just one price. Buy it now with shipping included versus buy it now and then a separate entry for amount for shipping. So I am going to try to do all of my fabric, get that when I get it listed in eBay as free shipping. So I'm here once a week. Today, I think I already told you I'm in garage number 2. I know I didn't show you any lamps or lampshades, but that is the majority of this garage. I'm working on these bins. I thank you. And until I see you again, enjoy and find something like my project that you can get to either declutter, use it, recycle it, donate it, and have fun.